Did you see I got the Big Jolly logo on the front of that car?
I saw that.
The images.
I saw that. I like that.
I'm excited for that. I can't wait till we start getting that on some shirts.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be pretty slick.
Yeah, I've got some other shirt ideas too. So.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about those.
Yeah.
The good people at home, they would like to see some of those. Speaking of which, hello, folks.
Welcome
back to the house.
DaBudz.
DaBudz!
In what is soon to be the old studio, but more on that later.
Yeah, that's right. The old studio. Yeah, again, we'll save that surprise for later. How's everybody doing? I hope y'all are doing well. This week's been kind of crazy, but we made the time to come out and record anyways because we love what we do. Now, we're going to have some of the same conversations today. We're going to talk a bit about baseball. As always, we have the baseball musings. But one of the most important things before we get started, I want to call out Autism Awareness Month. As you can see from my shirt, I do rep Autism Awareness Month. Keith, my man over here, does as well. KB's rocking the shirt. This is something that's important to us. This is something that, my brother has autism. Several people in my family have autism. It's something that I'm getting tested. So, no, this is something important. This is something that we take, pretty seriously because living with autism is not easy in today's world. So we want to make sure that we show love. So anybody who has the opportunity, please go out, find an autism program that you can support, find a person that you can support and get involved. I know that they will appreciate it. So about those baseball musings, there's been a lot going on in sports in general. It's been a pretty busy week.
There's been some news in the sport. There's some news in the sports world.
I don't know how many of y'all noticed, but we were in Oklahoma this last weekend. We were able to get quite a few really good conversations, a couple of good interviews.
Yep, right there live on our TikTok page.
That's right.
And I know a lot of you were watching and joining in on that. I think we had something like 80 viewers.
I think we had 80 at one point.
Yeah.
Now, I know that doesn't sound like much, but, for us, that's a lot.
For a glorified practice at the University of Oklahoma and two dorks just running around on the field with a phone.
Yeah.
80 was a lot.
Hey, bro,
80 was a lot.
We had lapel mics.
We did have lapel mics.
We had lapel mics too. We're bloody professionals.
Yeah, we are the best.
So what's going on this week in the world of baseball?
So, baseball musings, I want to point out a couple of great stories from baseball this week. Number one, we got Yoel Pizzoe.
Took us a minute to figure out how to pronounce that.
Catcher from the Cardinals. What a wonderful story. So, this guy has been through so much adversity. He was kind of a career journeyman minor leaguer. I know he spent some time in the Rangers organization with Oakland as well. I think he might have swam through Houston for a minute. But during COVID-19, the 2020 minor league season was canceled completely, which meant no income for those players. Around that same time, Yoel's son had some medical issues pop up, and everything just kind of snowballed on the family. They ended up living in their car. So they were homeless for a period of time. And Yoel made, he had a small cup of coffee like in 2021 in the pros, but made his first, his debut since then, I guess, right? His re-debut for the Cardinals, where he's still on the roster right now, batting .400 on the year. He's kind of platooning at catcher. Okay. In his first game, though, back up, he hit a home run.
That's amazing.
And it was just one of those really great feel-good stories where from homeless to the show. It's pretty incredible.
I love feel-good stories that come out of baseball. There's so many in baseball. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. What happened during COVID that left his family in such straits?
So, well, for one, during COVID, a lot of the sports got stuck in this thing. Do we play? Do we not play? Yeah. Baseball decided to play, right, with no fans in attendance. Well, for minor leagues, with no fans coming in, no concessions, no nothing, I think that they just decided it wasn't financially worth doing it, honestly. Yeah. And so what happened, right, because everybody thinks about, when they think about professional athletes, they think about millionaires, right? In some cases, billionaires at this point. Minor league players is not like that. Those guys are riding the bus city to city. They are not even fully making a living wage. I used to have season tickets to our local minor league affiliate here. And a few years ago, the starting second baseman for the Missions was living in a van parked right outside of center field.
I wish you'd sat down by the river.
Yeah, dude. There was a river right there. Yeah. You remember that? I think you went to a couple games with us then. And I remember pointing out his van to you.
Oh, yeah, you did. In fact, you pointed that out during the Pat Green concert.
Yes.
Yeah.
We were special guests at a Pat show at the Wolf, and the van was just off to the side of the stage. It was pretty funny, but yeah. So that just these minor league guys, they don't make much, if anything. Now the ones that are drafted in the first round, second round, they get a pretty good signing bonus. But the baseball draft goes on forever, right? There's guys that go in the 18th round, 15th round. It's ridiculous. And they're really not making anything until they make their major league debut. And so when you eliminate that income, when it's not even enough to live on to begin with, and it's all they've got coming in, it's not a short trip to homelessness. When you take away the only thing, especially somebody like this that isn't from the States, maybe had trouble getting another job outside of playing ball in that moment.
So to add a little context to this, the average income, the average wage of a minor league baseball player is between $51,000 and $67,000 a year. Look, that's a lot of money, but that's not a lot of money in today's world. Certainly for someone playing sports, it's kind of off the expectation of what we think of when we talk about our athletes. That's not a very big amount at all.
Yeah, he actually, I was looking it up because I knew he had a cup of coffee back in 21. He actually got some service time with the Rangers back in 2021.
Oh, okay.
But after going through everything he went through, the COVID, only that small cup of coffee, I think he was up for maybe 40 games back then. And only that small cup of coffee, and now being a contributor on a team that has playoff aspirations, it's a great story.
So you said he nailed that dinger. What's his performance looking like?
So I looked up his numbers earlier today, and he's batting .400 on the year. He's only got the one home run, 4 or 5 RBIs. Doesn't have a ton of at bats. He's the backup catcher right now.
Yeah.
So he's kind of platooning, getting some time here and there. They play him whenever they have a day game.
Yeah.
A night game followed by a day game. Typically, you'll give your starting catcher the break
Yeah.
in one of those two. Most of the time, the day game. And so he's getting in those spots, and he's making the most of his opportunities, and it's great to see.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When you're coming from a place like that, the motivational factor is high, I think, number one, people that come from that situation are grateful to be in a spot like that, right? And when you're grateful, you perform at different levels, right? You just perform with the weight removed from your shoulders. But there's also always that element of, man, I don't want to go back to that bullshit.
No, you're right. And when you take everything from somebody, and then they scratch and battle to get it back,
exactly,
it's a pretty phenomenal story, and it deserves to be highlighted.
Absolutely. I'm glad you told me about that. It was a really cool story. I hadn't heard about it yet. So we also had the Masters this week.
Mm-hmm.
The Masters was kind of crazy to watch.
Well, before you get too much of the Masters, I got another baseball story that's Masters tie-in. Yeah. So no, you're good. You're good. So also this past week on Masters Sunday, Jackson Jobe made his major league debut for the Detroit Tigers. Pitched 6 innings, allowed 2 hits, got the win. Pretty great performance. Now, the reason that it's significant that he made his debut on Masters Sunday, when he was 3 years old, he caddied for his father at the Masters. His father is Bandit Jobe. I think I'm saying that right.
I'm going to name my first Bandit.
Out of Macon, Georgia. But yeah, when Jackson was 3, he was his dad's caddy at the 2006 Masters. Now, a couple things about that story. Number one, wonderful story. How it worked out with the Masters. That's really cool. What is not really cool is the thought of somebody that was 3 in 2006 now being a Major League Baseball player.
That is
because 2006 doesn't seem like it was that long ago.
Bro, quit aging me.
Yeah.
It hurts.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough.
It hurts.
Baseball this week also had Jackie Robinson Day.
Yes.
I love Jackie Robinson Day. It's one of my favorite days of the season. So what they do is they unretire Jackie's number, and then for one day only each year, and then every player on every roster wears number 42 on Jackie Robinson Day. And so it's always really cool to see, baseball just throwing that recognition, the tribute to the trailblazer that was Jackie. Everybody I'm sure knows the story, right? We've seen the movie 42, first African American player in the bigs.
If you haven't seen the story, let us know on socials,
yeah,
and we'll do something on it. We'll make sure we get you all the details.
Little known fact: he actually wasn't the first African American player signed to a big league team. But I forget the gentleman's name that was the first, but he never made his way through the minors, and the hell that those guys had to deal with and put up with is unimaginable at this point. And, but I'm glad to see that baseball pays tribute to those that came before, right? Those that paved the way. If other sports did this, like if basketball just had a Jordan day and everybody wore 23, would it go over as well? Is there somebody that you would see for football maybe? Like,
yeah, I thought about that. So somebody brought up David Robinson, who I liked. I really liked. With that said, it was hard for me to find somebody who I thought was equally influential in their sport.
I've got an NFL.
I know they're there. Okay.
I've got an NFL one. I was thinking about this, and it's not so much for what this individual did on the field, but maybe what his life represented off the field. But what about Pat Tillman?
Pat Tillman.
Gave his left the NFL career to go become an Army Ranger and then pass in Afghanistan in tragic circumstances.
That's actually worth noting as well. He went into the military, and not just to become your average grunt. He got into special forces. Yeah. So he was functioning at an incredibly high level.
There was a lineman in the 60s. He played at OU and in the NFL, and then left and served in Vietnam and also lost his life. And I can't for the life of me remember his name. But similar to the Tillman story, right? Yeah. Tillman was definitely a much higher profile athlete than this person from the 60s was. I think basketball, it's Jordan, right?
So, we were talking about this a little earlier. I was thinking Earl Lloyd.
Yeah. First African-American player.
And, I think that it's interesting because we're watching a very European surge throughout the NBA. And it's been going on for quite some time now. But for the longest time, basketball was an African-American sport, right? Mm-hmm. We had your Larry Bird. You had a handful of folks that were in there playing. Pistol Pete. But it was dominated. And I think, folks like Earl Lloyd coming in and taking it when it was a white-dominated sport, I think that kind of puts him in that same vein.
You could probably do the same for members of, you mentioned David Robinson, we talked Jordan, the 92 Dream Team spread the game globally, right?
Yeah.
And so there have been countless European stars that fell in love with the game during the summer of 92. So maybe some of those guys as well.
What about coach? Would you put a coach there?
Yeah, if you did, Red Auerbach probably. Just hand out everybody a cigar.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it would be Auerbach. Maybe Larry O'Brien because they named the trophy after him.
That's fair.
That's
fair.
But I think Auerbach is probably the guy there because the Celtics and the Lakers, were the teams, right?
Yeah.
It really kind of still are when you think about it. But Auerbach, was legendary Celtics coach. Maybe go Pat Riley.
I was thinking Pat Riley.
Pat Riley invented the term three-peat. He won championships in LA. He won a championship as a coach with the Heat, and then later won several championships with the Heat as an executive. So that's a possibility too. I think really it's Jordan now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true. I think that it's true because of, he is still synonymous with the game. Yeah. And I think you've got all the GOAT conversations that are out there. But, it's not LeBron's likeness flying through the air,
No. Well, to that point, right, on whose likeness it is, yes, we all know the Jumpman, right?
Right.
But what about the NBA logo? That's Jerry West.
Jerry West. That's right.
He is the logo.
Right. That is really a good point. I think there's some interesting options out there.
I do too.
They make for an interesting full-on discussion.
Yeah, and there's other options you could do in baseball as well besides Jackie. I love that it's Jackie because of what it represents, but you could also make an argument in baseball that they should retire the number 3. Never let anybody else wear the number 3 because if Babe Ruth wasn't hitting more home runs than entire teams back in the 20s. You know, we might not know what baseball is today. It might not be a thing, right? You know, could have gone the way of horse racing. That was the most baseball and horse racing were the most popular sports at that time.
That's a really good point because, you know, it wasn't. There was an opportunity for it to fail as America's pastime.
Yeah.
And I mean, it kind of has tapered off even in the recent years, right? It's not quite as, so I think NFL, you know, has taken over.
Yeah, it's NFL, then college football number 2.
Yeah.
NBA is a distant third.
Right.
And then it's baseball and hockey.
Yeah.
Or basketball, baseball, and hockey are all kind of right there.
We need a new Babe Ruth, and they sent us Ohtani.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and that might be part of the reason that baseball's not as popular as it once was. There's not as many American stars as there once were, you know, and even kind of back to the point of Jackie Robinson, right? There's almost no African American stars. When you think about the better ball players that you know, or maybe darker complected, right? A lot of them are Dominican, Cuban, or whatever. And I think baseball has an issue with the youth, right?
Yeah.
The equipment's expensive. It's a lot easier to find a basketball court if you live in the inner city than it is a place to play baseball.
Kids used to play in the streets baseball. You can't really do that anymore.
I mean, you look at guys that came through, Hank Aaron, Dave Winfield, guys like that were multi-sport stars, you know, and went pro in baseball. If those same athletes came through today, they're football players or basketball players, right? And so baseball, I think, has an American issue. They've done things to try to speed up the game a little bit. Some of them I like, some of them I don't care for. Specifically, the stupid-ass Ghost Runner rule and extra innings. We're not 6 years old playing handball in our living room. And Ghost Runner on second!
They can implement a mercy rule.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But yeah, I think, though, a big part of the issue, right, is there are not enough American stars in the game.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. You were talking about that, and I had to go look. 40.8% of players on opening day came from diverse backgrounds. So 60% are, you know, white American.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily a diversity issue, right?
No, so to your point, so they break it down. Latinos 28%, internationally born 27%. So it's, but black is only 6.2%. Yeah, it's only 6.2%. That's interesting. Native American is 0.2%, and Pacific Islander 0.3%.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the most well-known African American player right now, just off the top of my head, Ellie De La Cruz.
Yeah.
From Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Who's electric.
Yeah, I was going to say, he catches attention for a reason.
Yeah, and to be completely honest with you, I don't know where he's from. He could be foreign-born. I don't know. But
so that's kind of awesome. That's kind of the other deal with that, right? I mean, there's a lot of African folks that are coming through Cuba, coming through Puerto Rico, right? So the nationalities get mixed. That's very interesting. Diversity in baseball. They make for an interesting conversation.
So our baseball boogie went in some different directions. Scott, I know you had some Masters thoughts.
Yeah, I got a little excited there. I mean, I can't. It was an interesting Masters. So first of all, I haven't watched golf much since I was a kid. My grandfather was an excellent golfer, and he loved it. We used to watch all the time. And because of that, my uncles and even my mom, to a certain extent, we would watch when we would go over there. So I didn't have much of a vested interest, but I found it very interesting this year that even when I couldn't watch, I wanted to know. I was keeping up with it. I was part of the, we had a...
we did a little golf pick'em contest.
Yeah, so I was part of that, and it forced me to pay more attention. And then you get towards the end where, you know, they tell me about drama in baseball, or drama in golf. I mean, I never thought about it.
Sudden death at the Masters.
Sudden death, yeah.
Yeah. Rory trying to complete the Grand Slam.
Yeah.
It's funny, I was watching one of the early morning news programs getting ready for work the day after. Mm-hmm. And they have a girl on there, and it's like, Dana reads sports, and it's kind of their little bit. And she read that he completed the Grand Slam, and she was like, I thought this was golf. What does that mean? Aren't Grand Slams in baseball? So, for anybody that may not know, Rory in his career has now won all 4 major golf championships, right?
Yeah.
The Open Championship, the U.S. Open, the Masters and the Players.
And I don't know what position was he in when they came out. Do you know what his rank was? Because he was
He was in the top 5.
he was in the top 5.
Yeah,
right?
World Golf Rankings beforehand.
Yeah.
He was one of the favorites picked to win it. What I didn't realize is it had been something like 8 years or 11 years in between his last Masters or his last major championship and this one. This was, of course, his first Masters championship. But and he several years ago he was leading late in the tournament, and then he choked. He choked, gave it away. I forget who came from behind to beat him. But on 18, when he missed that putt that would have won it before sudden death, I thought, ooh, here we go again, Roy.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've always been a McIlroy fan. I like him. He's he's way better than that jerk off from Texas, Spieth.
Spieth.
Yeah. But no, I've always been a Roy fan. Yeah, so I was just really happy for him. I did learn a new Masters fact, though, that I didn't know leading into this.
Okay.
So, on Saturday and Sunday of the Masters, if there is an uneven number of people that make the cut, the Masters has a designated person, because you're supposed to be in pairs, right?
Yep.
And if it's just one guy by himself, that's awkward. So the Masters has a designated guy who will golf with that extra golfer, right? So it's two things. He doesn't get his name on the bag. His score doesn't count. He doesn't get to talk to the media, right? But the guy that, it was a new guy this year, but the guy that had done it forever, and if you wouldn't mind looking up his name for me.
Yeah, of course.
I can't remember. He actually holds the course record at Augusta, right? He was a member of 2 or 3 country clubs around there, held the course record at Augusta. He was some kind of investment banker. One year, he was paired with Sergio Garcia, and he beat him in the round. He beat Sergio in the round, and afterwards, Sergio refused to shake his hand.
Really?
Yeah. I want to say his name was Tom something.
At the Masters,
Yeah, just
when an odd number of players make the cut, a non-competing marker is assigned. Let's see. Michael McDermott.
that was the guy this year.
Yeah, currently serves. He took over for Jeff Knox.
Jeff Knox, that was my guy.
Okay. That's crazy. I had no idea anything
Jeff
like that
Knox
existed.
has a course record at Augusta of 63.
That's nuts.
Like I don't know. He decided to go investment banking and just show up pro golfers every now and then.
Bro.
But how cool would it be to be like, hey, Scott or Big Jolly, you're the marker today.
Yeah.
So you're gonna go out there, you're golfing with Tiger.
You know how cool that would be, given that I don't play golf very well.
That Jeff Knox guy, he knew Augusta so well. Tiger used to call him for tips on the green.
Really?
And Roy golfed with him one time. He beat Roy, this year's Masters winner. He previously beat him. And Roy said nobody understands the greens at Augusta better than Jeff Knox.
No kidding.
Yeah, so it was a really, really cool story that I had no idea about. I always used to think the best job in sports was bullpen catcher. Right?
Okay, yeah.
You get the uniform,
Sure.
make $150,000 a year, travel with the team, but there's never any pressure.
Right.
It might be Jeff Knox's job, the unscored marker or whatever they call it. Yeah. That might be the best job in sports. Just I just get to play the Masters.
Yeah,
Not even the first 2 rounds. I just get to play the weekend at the Masters.
It's kind of crazy. I wonder what would happen if you put the pressure on him.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's the reason why he's not.
Obviously, it's muscle memory. All I know is that I was uber disappointed in Connors. My boy, he let me down.
He did have a bad last round.
He had a bad last round. He was looking so good.
So
he got me excited.
We have a lost episode out there that didn't get recorded. You guys will see at one point where we kind of both picked long shots to be in contention at the Masters. At least your long shot was in contention.
I guess that's fair.
My long shot didn't even make the cut. Zoltrus, you jerk.
You jerk face. But no, yeah, that was kind of my thing around the Masters. I thought it was really interesting just for someone who really doesn't know much about golf to come in and find the excitement in it. Which is kind of crazy, right? I mean, you think of it as a pretty boring sport, but not this time around. And maybe I'm just getting older, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I did too. And it's nice when you got a little something riding on it too,
So that's a very good point.
Makes it more fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. So What do we got going on in college football?
Man, there has been an
What don't we
incredible
have going
amount of college football happenings. I know a lot of you guys are following along with us on TikTok, and we've been pumping out videos about some of the drama going on in college football right now. I mean, I know we've got the spring portal that just opened. A lot of it's centering around that. But before we jump into that, I want to point out why Colorado will never be a blue blood. Blue blood. Blue blood.
Yeah.
Right?
Hit me.
Colorado announced this week that they are going to retire the jerseys of Travis Hunter, which somewhat makes sense to me, and Shedeur Sanders, which makes no goddamn sense to me. I looked it up. Shedeur Sanders' record as a starting quarterback in Colorado is 13-12. You don't retire numbers for people that have won game over 500. Now, look, Travis Hunter, I could see if you want to do something to honor him. I get it. There's a lot of schools, University of Oklahoma for one. There's a little statue outside the stadium for everybody that won the Heisman. But retiring numbers in college is dumb. You're going to run out of numbers. And to retire Shedeur Sanders, so you're telling me he's the best quarterback you guys have ever had?
Evidently.
So we live in a world where Cordell Stewart doesn't exist? Because he had a better career in college at Colorado than Shedeur did. And if you don't believe me, look it up. Like, it's just, it's flabbergasting. When I saw it, I thought,
nod to Dion.
It's one of two things.
They're
Dion
trying to
went to
sweep
the
the
administration and said, "You're going to do this,"
Which I don't see, but yeah.
Or some nerd in a bow tie up in the athletic office said, "Hey, you know what'll keep Dion happy?
Yeah, exactly.
Is if we glaze all over his son.
Yeah.
If we just slurp at the altar of Sanders, right? That'll keep Dion happy."
And it keeps him in Colorado, right? I mean, at the time, they were talking about him looking into the NFL, which I don't know that he ever was, to be honest with you.
Yeah, who knows?
But Colorado obviously took it seriously.
Yeah, and then that's the thing. And then so he's got other kids. Are we just going to retire the Sanders family? Give them all a number and then just retire them all?
Has Dion's jersey been retired from his university?
From Florida State?
Yeah.
No.
Probably not.
No, because Florida State had a lot of great football players over the years. Mm-hmm. And if a place like Florida State, Bama, Georgia, Oklahoma, Texas, if they start retiring every good player's number, every player that goes a game over 500's number, then those schools would run out of numbers.
Just start writing on the alphabet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's outrageous.
No, it is a pretty silly thing. When I first heard about it, I thought very much the same thing as you did. I thought that this was something to sweeten the pot on a deal to keep Dion. I didn't really see it as much as him throwing the gauntlet down and saying, do this or, but I can't put it past him either.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's not to say anything about his character. That's just to say the man knows how to make a deal, right? I mean, when he wants something, he goes after it, and he knows what he's got. He knows his cards, or what cards he brings to the table.
Yeah, sorry, I got a little distracted as I was checking my notes. I got a breaking news update. Benches clear after Nationals pitcher George Lopez throws a pitch up and in at Pirates Andrew McCutchen.
All right.
And Andrew McCutchen is like Mr. Pirate. He's been there for a long time. He is. Remember Michael Young with the Rangers?
Yeah.
How much loved him. All-star,
Yep.
But never kind of in the best of the league,
Yep.
but Ranger fans thought he was.
Yeah.
That's Andrew McCutchen in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
A really, really good player, borderline Hall of Famer, multi-time All-Star.
Okay.
And probably not a guy you want to throw at. Anyway, back to the college football. So, on Reddit this week, a story popped up. Now, I don't know if it's true. Nobody that was in the room has come out and confirmed it, so I just want to start with that.
It's on Reddit. It's on the internet. It must be true.
But if there was one coach that you could pin this story on, and people would be like, "Yeah, that's a thing," right?
Yeah.
Supposedly, in a meeting with all of his assistants, Mike Leach, the Pirate, at one point said, "Hey, what if on short yardage situations we take a little person and just fire him over the line of scrimmage?"
Now, did he use the word little person?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No. He used a socially unacceptable slur, from my understanding. Now, again, this is from Reddit. I don't know if he did use the slur. Also, it would have been around the time I think he was at Tech.
Okay.
So I don't know that, different time, right? Like, maybe it was still okay to use that word. I don't know. Right. It doesn't matter. But yeah, it's what got me thinking, right? You know, at one point, the tush push was against the rules. So why not? Why not this be okay? Who's to say the Arizona Cardinals don't line up, pick up Kyler Murray, fire his little ass over the line of scrimmage, and call it the Phoenix Flight?
Bro, all I have is pictures of Brad Williams being thrown over a scrum.
So think about it, bro.
It would be viable
call it the High Kyle. Or the High Murray, or the Phoenix Flight.
Bro, that would be a perfect play.
Yeah.
And then let's be realistic. You're giving folks from that community a real shot in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, let's say it happened. Let's say Brad Williams signs with the Rams, right? Let's say Brad Williams signs with the Rams.
Yeah.
Okay, and they do this to Brad Williams, and they throw him over the line of scrimmage, right? And let's say Khalil Mack is on the other side of the line of scrimmage.
Oh, God.
And he catches Brad in midair.
Yeah.
And he runs him back to the end zone. Now, is that in the forward motion, or because he never really hit the ground, is it different rules? And that's like almost like an interception, taking it back for a pick six.
Yeah, as long as it goes lateral, I think he's okay.
As long as he's holding Brad, and Brad hits the ground.
And no passes into the back, you know?
Shout out Brad Williams. We're
we're going to tag Brad Williams.
Yeah.
Brad, we would love to see you do a bit on that.
We are big fans.
Massive fans.
Yeah. I've been following that dude since he had a podcast with that douche Adam Ray. That's a whole different story, though.
But we digress.
Got in a Twitter fight one time. It was a whole thing. Now, some more portal news, right, before we get to the big story of college football. More portal news. Now, as you guys, I'm sure, have noticed, right, we are OU fans, right? We're gonna podcast like champions today, because that's where that sign came from, not Notre Dame. But anyway, Oklahoma in the portal, during the winter portal, went out and got the number one quarterback, right? John Mateer.
Yep.
During the spring portal, they've gone out and gotten Jaden Ott from the University of California. Now, this kid is so damn fast.
Yeah.
You give him just the smallest little sliver of light, he's going to find his way through. It's game-changing speed. From the last ranking I saw, he was the number one running back in the portal. I know a couple other guys have declared since then. I think he might still be number one. I saw the depth chart that already had him as the number one running back at OU. And the running back room is deep at OU this year. So
you talk about fast. He runs the 4.4 on the 40.
Yeah, 4.40.
Yeah.
He was returning kicks for them. If you guys get a chance to look up some of his highlights, they are incredible. But he's not the only player we've got in the portal right now. Picked up an offensive lineman named Jake Michaela from Stanford, right? He started 11 games for Stanford last year and can play either guard position or center. So just anywhere on the interior. So that's going to add some depth there, because if anybody has paid even the smallest of attention to the University of Oklahoma's football program, you know that the offensive line needs help. You know, it's no secret they were horrible last year. So that's bright side. What OU's done that's a little different, and a lot of teams are doing this, right, is they went out and they hired a general manager to kind of be in charge of the portal, distributing NIL money, all roster management. So you've taken that off the coach.
Yeah.
Coach can coach now. And so they hired a guy named Jim Nagy, right? I think that's what it was.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Nagy.
Anyway,
Nagy. He's got, Nagy. He has all sorts of ties to the NFL, worked in front offices. He was like the president of the Senior Bowl or something like that. And he's hit the ground running. Great job there. So on his portal. This
Jake Macula?
Yeah, so I wasn't sure how to say it, and so I plugged it into like Google.
Yeah.
And it gave me a little audio.
Okay.
And it was Michaela.
Yeah. Okay. So Jake Michaela is not spelled that way, but yeah, Michaela. So he's got 2 years of eligibility remaining. So
yeah.
I mean, this is a 6'5", 300-pound guy. We get another 2 years with him. That's pretty significant pickup. Like you said, the line is a weakness.
I think so. And I'm excited about the Ott kid as well, the running back.
Yeah.
And so,
and I mean, if you have somebody like that moving bodies on the line.
Yeah. And if you look at what Washington State did offensively last year, right? The reason I bring that up is John Mateer the new quarterback, was the Washington State quarterback, and Ben Arbuckle, the new offensive coordinator, was the Washington State offensive coordinator.
No.
So you look at the packages that they run, this Jaden Ott is going to fit in perfectly.
Okay.
And so I think it's going to be a great fit. I even saw a couple of SEC pages online today saying they thought Oklahoma has a chance to be the highest scoring offense in the SEC this year. I'm going to say pump the brakes on that.
Yeah.
I'm going to say pump the brakes on that.
Yeah.
But the potential's there.
Yeah.
The potential's there.
Well, and I do think that that's absolutely right. You know, it speaks to the potential. I agree. I don't think that that's going to be the case. But I think we can count on much better than we had this season.
I agree.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. Now, I've been waiting. The people have seen me make a few TikToks on this. I want your opinion on this Nico drama in Knoxville. Now, just to catch everybody up real quick, the latest reports before we started filming today is it was looking like it's probably a done deal at UCLA. But with this kid's family and his family's history with UCLA, they've already burnt UCLA once. The little brother did.
Right.
So who knows? Until the papers are signed, I don't want to say anything's official.
Yeah. No, so it's a great question. I've been watching this thing unfold. Like you said, you talked about it over the last weekend. At first, when I saw all this, I was like, this clown trying to take advantage of the situation. And then pretty quickly it was, well, I mean, he's handling his business. You know, that's his contract. That's his money. That's his future. He's trying to handle his business. And then it looked like they were shopping around, and I couldn't quite understand it. I thought we had somebody who was just a little too full of himself. So I was down on the kid at first. As more has developed, this is his father.
Mm-hmm.
This is his father screwing with his kid's future because he's greedy now. And I don't like that. I think that he should, obviously, a father or a parent should have their child's best interest at heart. And this guy's just trying to make a buck for himself. And that became abundantly clear. So what I do hope happens is that this kid finds a home where he gets to separate himself from all of that.
Well, that's not going to happen if he goes to UCLA. That's where the family's from.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So, but he, in my opinion, he needs distance from that family. I think that that's going to create him a lot of problems. And hopefully he'll see this and learn from it as he moves into the NFL, because I think he's got a good chance to do so.
I mean,
as he moves into the NFL,
as a true freshman last year, he threw for over 2,600 yards, 19 touchdowns, only 5 picks.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's got a shot.
He's got some talent, right? I know Tennessee fans are down on him right now.
Yeah. That's the nature of the portal, and that was the first thing that I had to kind of get over in all of this, is that the idea of loyalty isn't what it used to be. Right, loyalty to your school, loyalty to your coaches. It's very much money driven, and the system did that. Right, this is the way it's been intended. Well, whether it's working the way we want it to, this is what we intended to do.
The thing is, right, forever these universities have made money off of these students, off these student athletes. Yeah. So it was only right that the student athletes did get their cut. Right, their fair share. And I think NIL, when it was first established, I actually heard Cam Newton say this today. When NIL was first established, it was meant to make the college athlete's life a little bit more comfortable. Yeah. Now they've got money for pizza, right? That was always the big thing. Like, you know, I see my jersey in the school library getting sold left over right, but I don't have enough money to order some Papa John's tonight. Right. I can't get a hot and ready from Little Caesars.
See, that's how I always thought it was like a work study.
Like it's like but at the same time, like, I always believe, so I'm always torn on this, right? College is supposed to be the place you go to prepare you for your career. Right. And that's, you know, that's what it does. It's supposed to be that, but not the place you go that you make life-changing money. It's supposed to be the place that sets you up to make that money. Right. And I think some of these players have lost sight of that a little bit. Yeah. As far as this Nico situation, you know, we've heard a lot of the old men, get off my lawn. I'm so glad Josh Heupel in Tennessee stood up to this, and enough is enough. And yes, I agree to an extent, right? What happens September 13th when Georgia comes to town? Georgia's at Knoxville, September 13th, defending SEC champions. And you've got Jake Merklinger, who's thrown for a career 48 yards up to this point, and against Georgia, and he throws he's something like 4 for 18 with 2 picks and a fumble, and you're down 24 at halftime, right? Are Tennessee fans, or not just Tennessee fans, college football fans in general, because I don't want to single out just the good folks of Knoxville, because it's like that in Norman, Oklahoma, College Station, Texas, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I would say Austin, but I don't think anybody there actually cares about anything. Right, but are they going to say, "Oh man, fuck Josh Heupel, should have paid the kid. Now we suck again"?
Oh yeah, they're definitely that's definitely going to happen.
Yeah.
Now I wonder if Heupel was actually getting rid of Nico, or if he was getting rid of the dad now.
So a couple things that come out.
With everything that's come out with his dad, I have really changed my perspective.
A couple things that have come out, right? So apparently before the playoff game against Ohio State, where they got destroyed, and if you remember, all the talk going into that game was, "Oh, the Tennessee fans have taken over the horseshoe. Look at all the tickets they're going to buy." Ohio State was coming off that loss to Michigan, and Tennessee was supposed to come in there and just roll their ass. I knew that wasn't going to happen. I made a pretty good bet on Ohio State that day. But supposedly, there was a contingent of players, including Nico, that went to the administration, threatened to sit out the playoff game if they didn't get more money. They said, "We were just paid for the regular season, not the playoffs." And motherfucker. In the NFL, they don't get paid for the playoffs either. Their paycheck is split over a 17-game regular season. Right? They don't get an extra check in the playoffs. So why should you, Nico, and the rest of those guys that wanted to do that? So you had that happen right before their playoff game. So, man, no wonder they got their ass kicked. And then on top of that, Heupel did not care, from my understanding. Josh did not care about Nico or his father trying to renegotiate the deal. What got him was Nico stopped showing up to practice. Nico tried to do it like an NFL-style holdout. And that's where Josh said, "No, nobody's above the team. Nobody's above the program. Not you, not me. You're gone." And I respect it. I really, really do.
But now you got to eat it.
But my question is Tennessee fan still going to respect it when you guys barely make a bowl, right? And I hadn't even thought about that aspect of it until scumbag Urban Meyer talked about Florida's going to go in and beat Tennessee, blah, 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 because of this deal, right? Urban was paying guys under the table for a long time.
We may have
so
to
of course
get
he
Urban
doesn't care.
on the racket.
Oh, yeah. When he'll do something. He'll do something.
Yeah.
There's plenty of reasons in the past if we were doing
exactly.
where he would have been there. But yeah, so just that aspect of it is something to think about.
Yeah.
It's something to think about,
That's a great point, because fans are fair weather,
I seem to remember, just my own personal experience, Oklahoma had a blue shirt, stud, 5-star quarterback named Rhett Bomar. Rhett started as a true freshman, improved every game, showed some promise, and then during the offseason, this was before NIL, mind you, during the offseason, he got a no-show job at a local car dealership in Norman. Him and one of the offensive linemen, when Stoops found out about it, threw him off the team. So you're not going to do something that's going to put the program in danger,
right?
Because back then there was big penalties against that. Threw him off the team. Well, the quarterback that took his place was a guy named Paul Thompson. And Paul Thompson had been a backup for a couple of years at OU, put in the time, looked like he was never going to see the field as a quarterback, so they converted him into a wide receiver, where he was doing very well. The Bomar situation happens. They're like, "Hey, we need you back at quarterback." This kid did everything for the school. All right, great Sooner. The on-the-field results weren't necessarily what people wanted, right? I think they lost like 3 games that year, and people had a heart attack. And I remember people talking about Stoops should be fired, run Thompson out of town.
No,
there's no Bomar, and it's like, no, I mean, this kid put your whole program in danger.
Yeah, exactly.
And you want him back. You want to suckle at his teeth.
Yeah,
because he threw a slightly prettier spiral.
People are that way, man. Like you said, they forget the there was a principle behind the initial decision, right? And everybody will back you up when you stand on principles until it impacts them.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Well, the Nico situation is definitely one of the more interesting ones to keep an eye on. I'm very interested to see how this pans out.
It's still developing, and because neither one of us get much sleep, we've been right there as stories have broken, making videos, sending information back and forth. So it's been fun following that story for sure.
KB's been holding down those videos. Y'all gotten to see a lot of him. Hopefully you'll get to see a lot more of me in the future. But appreciate you keeping those up, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's been fantastic to watch.
So we're gonna kick it
Mhm.
to a little interview with Caden,
Yeah.
our researcher, NBA expert, for the DaBudz round ball wrap up.
So let's send you over to Caden, and we'll catch you back here.
All right, welcome to DaBudz round ball wrap up. I am joined by one of our great researchers, NBA expert, and local basketball standout, Caden Bird, from Churchill High School. Welcome to the show, Caden.
Thank you, Katie.
Everything going all right?
Yep.
Awesome, man. Well, let's jump right into it. Now, you watch a lot more ball than I do. Who is your MVP this season?
I would have to say SGA.
SGA?
Gilgeous from the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Very nice. What are some reasons why SGA is the MVP this year?
Well, he's the scoring leader this year, and I don't think they'll give it to Jokic because of the fact that he's won 2 in a row and they're not going to make it 3.
We know writers like to think they're bigger than the game and more important than the game. And so they're going to gatekeep an MVP away from Jokic because they don't want him to get his 4th and, like you said, 3rd in a row.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. SGA is a great pick there. Let's jump into 6th man. Who is your 6th man? I like to call that the Manu Ginobili Award.
I agree with that right there. I would have to go with Peyton Pritchard from the Boston Celtics.
What's Pritchard bring to the court? What makes him a great 6th man, that little spark off the bench?
I think he just brings really good shooting, defender, all-around player. He's a good second option with either Jason Tatum's out or Jaylen Brown.
Okay, very nice. We'll be looking for some good things from Pritchard in this playoff run. Who is your coach of the year? I know you kind of went back and forth on a couple of options on this one.
I was going to go with J.J. Redick just because of the turnaround the Lakers had, but I'm going to have to go with Kenny Atkinson.
Okay.
Say that because he led his team from...
Who's the coach of?
Cavs.
Cavs, okay.
64-18 record this year, second best in the league.
And they were a lottery team last year, if I remember correctly. Isn't that right?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Okay, so that is quite the turnaround. Who do you have as your defensive player of the year?
I'm going to have to go with Dyson Daniels from the Atlanta Hawks.
Okay.
There was a really good debate between him and Wembanyama when Wembanyama was actually playing. So.
Yeah. Wemby was a huge betting favorite when he went down. There was actually a guy that made Wemby was something like minus 650, something outrageous. And the day before the blood clot news came out about Wemby, there was a guy that made like a $250,000 bet on him to win Defensive Player of the Year. So that's a bad beat.
Yeah.
All right. So I did ask you as well to come up with your dark horse team, somebody in that 5 to 8 range, could be a play-in team that you could see making a deep run in the playoffs. Who do you got for us?
We got the Warriors. I'm a Curry fan myself, and a lot of people had doubts because he's getting older, but I think he's going to lead the, I'd say, conference finals, honestly.
To the conference finals?
Yep.
Man, I love that pick. Curry is probably the best shooter in NBA history. And then they got Butler now. And playoff Butler's a different animal. So I think Warriors is probably the only right pick there. And honestly, I think they're my champion. Speaking of champions, who do you got bringing home the Larry O'Brien?
Got the Cleveland Cavaliers without LeBron James.
A LeBron-less Cavs team winning it all would be one of the funniest things to ever happen in the NBA. What about this Cavs team makes you think that they can win it all?
I think they got great team chemistry. People compare them to 2014, 2013 Spurs teams, minus
the greatest power forward of all time,
yeah,
and maybe one of the greatest coaches of all, or maybe the greatest coach of all time, depending on who you ask.
Mm-hmm.
Right on. Yeah. So team chemistry, basketball is a team game first, and we've seen teams win with multiple stars, but we've also seen teams lose with multiple stars. Who is a key standout for the Cavs in this run that we should be looking for in the playoffs?
I think Donovan Mitchell.
Donovan Mitchell.
I think he's going to be that piece, their superstar in the playoffs. I feel like they're going to be his number one option. And, yeah.
Okay, man, I love it. And I want to throw one more wild card at you. I know you're a Curry stain, but I also know that you're a Trae Young stain. We're Oklahoma guys. We love us some Trae Young. Did you see his actions at the end of the Hawks game last night?
I didn't.
Man, he made a little teardrop looking kind of Tony Parker-esque. And afterwards, he just rifled the ball at the official. Immediate tech, and he got thrown out. And then he kind of did this little bounce pass thing to the official, but put a little backspin on it, like you do to your little brother. And the ball went away from him, making the official just look like a fool. and then he did like a crossover. I don't know. He just looks like he's either was fed up with the officiating in that game, fed up with the season, or maybe fed up with Atlanta. So that'll be something interesting to keep an eye on moving forward.
Yeah.
Caden, thanks for joining us on DaBudz Round Ball Wrap Up. All right, welcome back. And next up, Big Jolly.
This
Who
is one of
is
my
this week's scumbag? Scumbag.
I'm looking forward to this part. So the bracket, as you know, that we put together is for scumbag. We're going to take all of these individuals. We're going to pit them against each other in a tournament style. This week, I want to introduce someone that you're very aware of, Draymond Green. He's going on the board. Draymond, let's talk about why we're going to put you on the board. So, anyone who follows the NBA knows that Draymond is probably one of the more passionate players out there, and I'll give him that, right? He is passionate. He has a style of ball. He plays street ball. He's physical. He's a bruiser, right? And he's pretty unrepentant about it. Now, I think every team needs a bruiser. I always liked the role of the bruiser.
Yeah,
right?
the Oakley type.
Yeah.
Charles Oakley.
Charles Barkley.
Charles Oakley.
Oakley.
Yeah, from the Knicks.
Oh, no. That's not who I was thinking. Yeah, so you need that bruiser. I like the role. With that said, there are limits. So if you've seen any of the videos, this guy has a tendency to really just throw his limbs everywhere.
I know he likes to kick people in the nuts.
Yep,
he's a scumbag move. So
he's there are several videos of him out there. One with LeBron, he tried to kick him in the nuts.
He missed because he forgot his magnifying glass.
I think he did it with Steven Adams again as well.
Yeah.
Aussie. Well, and then there was the situation, I believe it was with Rudy Gobert. It was where he choked him out. Well, he didn't choke him out. Let's be real. He did choke him, though. So this guy got into a little scuffle. Draymond came out of nowhere on the other side of the court. Got in the middle, and his rationale was, that was my boy. I saw my boy getting beat. So he went in, put the dude in a chokehold, and drug him 10 yards back. Yeah, like out of nowhere. So this is a guy that, has, he's been suspended 6 times, 23 ejections, and he's paid over $2 million in fines for his behavior. Beyond that, the league, after the Gobert situation, forced him to go into therapy.
Mm-hmm.
They were
I
like,
remember he missed some time.
Yeah, they were like, this is too much. This is absolutely too much. And when you ask him about it, he does. He says, well, this is just my style of ball. And like I said, it's street ball, but even in street ball, there's limits, right? These guys aren't just out there punching each other, fighting each other, kicking each other in the nuts. At least, I don't know, none of the games that I ever played were. So, for these reasons and his unrepentant nature, Draymond Green has been added to the brackets.
I like it. I saw a recent interview with him. Every former player has a podcast now. They'll apparently just give these to anybody. But Draymond was on one of those podcasts. And the player that was interviewing him, God, I can't remember who it was, though. Anyway, they were asking him about in the NBA in the 70s and 80s, 90s. And Draymond said he has zero respect for any player that came before him.
Yeah.
Because they talk so bad about this new soft generation, right? And so Draymond, this scumbag would not be making anywhere near the money he's making today if it weren't for Jordan, Bird, Magic, and going back, right? We talked Pistol Pete and Wilt Chamberlain and all these guys.
They laid the groundwork for him.
Yeah, exactly.
They laid the groundwork.
In our earlier conversation, was our man Lloyd?
Yeah.
Earl Lloyd?
Earl Lloyd.
Earl Lloyd.
Earl Lloyd.
Apparently, Draymond doesn't respect him. So, Draymond's a scumbag. You won me over. That wasn't tough.
So
guy.
I saved an argument in reserve because I thought you were gonna resist. So one of the last things that I didn't bring up was he pulled down Brandon Clark and pulled him down hard and got the technical, right? They tossed him out of the game. The part that stood out with this one is the foul itself wasn't that bad as Draymond, right? So everybody took it as bad, but it was one of those. What really got him in trouble was the fact that he got the tech and then he ran up and down the court high-fiving his teammates, celebrating the technical.
What a douche move.
Exactly. So, yeah.
Draymond's like less talented and less entertaining version of Dennis Rodman.
Far less entertaining.
Yeah.
Far,
But I mean, Rodman
I
used
get
to
you.
that shit.
But
He
yeah,
kicked
I
that
get,
cameraman.
I get you.
He
I get
kicked
you.
a guy in the nuts and
No, it's a good
then
point.
skipped out on the finals to go join the NWA.
I hadn't even considered that because you look at that, and I think that there's and know that I take these conversations very seriously. But I think that there were mental health issues in both scenarios.
Oh,
right?
for sure.
So that's very interesting. I didn't even think about him.
All right. And Jolly, you wanted to hit us with some mammoth and wolf talk?
Yes, man. So you've seen this situation where they have unextincted a dire wolf. Man, I found that very interesting. Number one,
it's not really a dire wolf, right?
It's not really dire wolf.
Yeah.
So number one, absolutely amazing technology. I don't want to downplay the science because the science is it's impressive. It's really impressive. And then the fact that they could take the science and then implement it, out of this world. Technologies like CRISPR have made this possible. So what they've done, you have to have a full, I'm just going to call it a full set. It's easier to explain this way. A full set of DNA, right? You have to have all of it, end to end, before you can actually unextinct an animal. And what they do is they open up an embryo and they inject a cell, and they inject the right material in, and then that cell that was another creature develops into what you wanted it to be. Yeah, so it would have been a dire wolf if they had the entire genome.
Gotcha.
But they did not. So what did they do? They took a gray wolf, and they spliced in the features that they knew a dire wolf would have, and then they put that into the egg, right? And as that developed, we actually now have a whole new species of animal. So we have something that's crossed using genetic engineering between a gray wolf and a dire wolf.
Let me ask you this, because I thought I'd seen something and I just needed to confirm it online.
Yeah.
Dire wolves are not wolves.
They're canids, but I don't think they're actual wolves.
Right. Nowhere near a wolf the way a gray wolf is. Right? No, dire wolves are not actual wolves in the way that a gray wolves are. While they share some common ancestry, a gray wolf and other canines are diverged from a lineage millions of years ago.
Right.
So it's not even really like a wolf like that.
Yeah, no.
I mean,
so not in the sense that we think of wolves.
Okay.
So here's the interesting part, right? And that's actually a really good conversation you just brought up.
I know.
Can they enter or can they breed? Because that's a real tell of the situation, right? Do we have a new species or do we have something that's inviolable? Because when you cross, I believe it was the zebra and the donkey, the Z-donk, that was the thing.
Yep.
That creature could not.
It's kind of like the difference between a donkey and a mule, right? Like.
Well, no, actually,
it's
significantly more different. Actually,
okay.
So to the point. And I think this is true. So we've got several that were mixed. You got the liger and you've got the Z-donk, but these animals, as they're interbred, because they aren't in the same species line, they can't have offspring. So it'd be very interesting to see if they're compatible in that regard.
Okay.
But to your point, they are in the canid lineage, but they aren't the same in terms of timber wolves and gray wolves that we think about. But they do have enough DNA in common. Enough of the genome is in common. And one of the issues that you run into is that when you try to scrape genetic data off of a fossil, I mean, obviously, the vast majority of it is degraded. So you have these, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. You have these little bits that are everywhere.
It's literally the first Jurassic Park movie, right?
Yeah. Well, you're
like they found a mosquito in some amber that bit in a dire wolf, and
exactly. But and even then, to take that further, you're absolutely right, because then they had to splice in amphibian DNA, and that's how they were spontaneously changing sexes, right? So you're absolutely right. A very similar situation. I found it fascinating. The fact that they were able to pull this off is amazing. Now, in this next part, so. They're talking about bringing back woolly mammoth next, and it's going to be a similar issue. I don't know what genome they're going to choose, but they're going to try and do this as well. Same company, in fact.
You know, the company that's doing this, I found out that there's something, and I'm too dumb to understand it. but there's something about the way that the mammoths act and what they do that is actually supposed to help control climate change.
Yeah, okay.
Right? And so the company that's bringing back the mammoths is going to receive something like billions, maybe trillions in climate change credits from various governments around the world.
Interesting.
It was something about the way they stomp their feet, or like I said, I'm not super smart, so I don't know.
So it's interesting. It says, yes, reintroducing mammoth-like creatures could potentially help control climate change by restoring Arctic ecosystems by slowing the thawing of permafrost. That's interesting. Yeah, I want to look into that more.
So in the thing I saw about it, it talked about how they stomped their feet
Yeah.
would somehow slow the thawing of the permafrost, like you said. But to me, if you go, all right, you're breaking the ice, you're causing friction.
And you're creating pressure, which usually means more heat.
Right.
Which, yeah. So that's very interesting to me. So it's really cool that you bring that up, because one of my first thoughts when I heard that is like, cool. Have you been talking to paleobotanists? Are you going to bring back the plants that the damn thing eats too? Well, or are we just going to let it outgraze other species?
So what I kind of thought about the dire wolves, right? Because I looked it up. I was like, what did these things eat?
Yeah,
and it was large hooved animals.
Right, horses.
Right, horses, camels.
Yeah.
So are we just going to, maybe we just let the dire wolves and the mammoths live in the same area? We bring back some extinct plants for the mammoths to eat, and wolves, catch you a mammoth if you're hungry. You know?
I think we should give them Wyoming and Idaho.
Yeah, okay, I was thinking Siberia.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to take it over.
I want to go see them.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, but here's the thing. There are far scarier things in Idaho than Siberia. Trust me, my ex-mother-in-law lives in Idaho.
Yeah. Yeah, terrible, terrible joke. But yeah, no, this is something I'm very interested in watching.
Yeah, it's super cool.
From a nerd science perspective, which I'm all about. This is one of the coolest things that I've seen come out in a long time. That wasn't in the quantum physics realm. In quantum physics conversations, even if I do get to the place that I understand them, I can't explain them.
No.
So it's not one of those things that you can really talk about, or that I'm equipped to talk about. So this is a really cool one.
Yeah. Good shit.
Absolutely. So, something that the good people at home might not know, we alluded to it at the beginning, but we're actually moving into a new space over the weekend.
Yes.
We're going to expand this thing. Like, we are enjoying what we're doing. We have the ability to fund some of this up front, and we're doing so. So we want to actually create more quality videos, more videos with more consistency, and better tools to splice these things together. It's really something I've been looking forward to. And this weekend, we're going to have that all set up. We'll be recording out of that studio. And then I think we'll send some lives while we're doing it across TikToks. I'm really looking forward to this weekend, getting that set up.
Yeah. Like Jolly said, I've enjoyed the hell out of this. I think the tens of you that are watching have also enjoyed us, hopefully. And so we're gonna we're building it up step by step. And the next step is more of a proper studio setting. Something
fit for purpose.
So we've got some cool things coming your way. Also, real quick before we get into what I was going to say next, Jolly.
Yeah.
What's up with the racing?
Oh, man.
Give us some ideas.
Big Jolly's still doing his thing. So, we are tracking to a June 18th date for my first race. There's a lot of things that need to happen still, so that may get pushed. I just want to be realistic. But that is what we are tracking to. Tomorrow, I'm actually going out and helping Workman and his brother get their car set up so that they can be at the races on the Saturday. So they're going to be racing out at I-37 in Pleasanton. They actually have a Sunday or a Saturday Easter egg hunt going on for the kids out there. So if anybody's interested in going to check that out, I'll make sure that I get that posted up on the socials. We would love to have you guys. I think it'll be amazing. But for me, the car is ready.
Nice.
The car is done. So we had to, a couple of weeks ago, we went out to the guy that was doing the fabrication for us. About 2 months ago, give or take, I went out. I had to sit in the car. They had to do some measurements. We had to cut the chair off where it was. And we had to make some modifications to make it easier for me to get in and out. As you noticed, I'm a big guy. So we needed to make sure that there was safety taken care of. Went back and we thought, okay, well, we're going to have to redo some of these measurements. Sat in the car, nailed the measurements the first time. I thought that we were going to lose another week to this. This guy nailed it first time. I'm going to talk to him and see if we can get his permission to put him out there, because absolutely phenomenal work. That put us ahead of schedule. The car is back in the shop. The tires are done. The engine's ready to go. I need to do an oil change, and we need to throw fuel in it.
Okay.
So,
and so you're looking at what date do you think?
June 18th should be the first live race. Here at the end of April, I'll be in the first practice laps.
You're racing on a dirt track, right?
That's correct.
And how long are your races? How many laps?
There are 10 to 12 laps in some of the main features.
Okay.
So they're not very long, and it's not a very long track. But what you'll find is that there's multiple heats. So this is an event that takes place across the entire night. It'll start at about 7 and we'll be done at midnight.
Oh wow!
So it can be a very long event. With that said, the races themselves are pretty short.
Okay.
So
we'll get multiple races.
You're going to get multiple races, and I'll get multiple races as well.
Well, if your car survives the first one.
We'll see. I survived the first one.
Yeah.
So some of the cool things, we've actually got it set up. I've got my equipment set up so that I'll be mic'd up. So you'll actually be able to hear what's going on in the car.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that. And then we're going to have some GoPro set up at the front and the rear. And even one turned in towards the internals of the vehicle. Now, we're going to use that for research, but it could come up with some pretty cool videos. So we'll have that. So the content's going to be flying once we start these. Like I said, the practice laps are going to happen at the end of April, and we'll put together some live for that as well.
Hey, so we're going to be doing a lot of stuff to promote Jolly's first race. And what we'd like to do is get some of you nuggies out there with us. So what I'm thinking, I haven't even talked to Jolly about this yet, but we've got a couple great shirt ideas. One that is his logo on the race car that you guys may have seen on some of our social media platforms.
The Jolly
What
Roger.
I'm thinking is we make about 15, 20 shirts with that logo on it.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody that comes out to the race, find me.
Okay.
Find me. I'll have the shirts. Boom. Free shirts.
I love it.
Just come out, find DaBud. I'll be DaBud because the other Bud will be in the car. But come out and find us. Just let them know let me know you're a nuggie. You're one of our nugs. And we will.
That's it, though. You got to say it.
Boom.
You got to say the words.
I'm a nuggie. I'm a nug.
I'm one of the nugs.
Yeah. And we'll hook you up with a shirt. And I'm sure we'll be drinking. And well, he won't be, but I'll be drinking. And we'll be hanging out. And it'll be a good time. But we want to do some stuff to promote the Good Jolly or Big Jolly Racing.
Yeah.
And so we'll get that going on. Also, real quick. DaBudz versus AI, right?
Yeah.
So almost every day, at least 4 times a week on the X channel, which is DaBudz 2000, DaBudz 2000, and on our TikTok, which is DaBudz 76. I'm posting my baseball bets for the day along with AI's best baseball bets for the day. So we've had to use a couple different forms of AI. Can we say who we're using?
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
Okay, so
yeah, absolutely.
We started off with the one from X, which is
Grok.
I always say it wrong, Grok. And then at some point, Grok said, I'm not going to give you any more baseball picks, probably because I was kicking his ass, right? And then we moved over to ChatGPT. ChatGPT actually performed a little bit better than Grok. But at some point, too, ChatGPT said, I don't have access to the most latest stats. And basically, both AIs told me to Google it. yeah, swear to God. So we are now using Copilot. Yeah, Copilot, and man, the first 2 days Copilot went 6-0, and so AI is taking a little bit of a lead on me. And so let me get those updated standings right now for you guys coming into today. And right now it looks like I did 6 games today. I'm going 4-2 if the current scores hold up. AI gave us 6 games today. Also, looks like if the current scores hold up, they're going to go 3-3.
Okay.
So, sorry, this was kind of an unplanned plug.
It's actually really good. 3-3, still pretty solid.
Yeah, not bad. So coming into today,
scary good.
I was 13-18-2, and the combined AIs were 15-17-1. So I should be at 17-19 after today.
Okay.
And AI will be at 18-20. So because of the various pushes.
Yeah.
The lost column is a little different, but we're making up ground. It's fun. It's been interesting. I don't have a whole lot of experience betting on baseball, so learning that and all the different bets and everything. Where I am better at a couple things, football for one, and so is Big Jolly over here. So we're going to carry this over into the fall, and it's going to be me versus Jolly versus AI. Yeah. We're going to have punishments. We're going to have rewards. It's going to be a thing. Also, we don't know if we're going to do this yet. We may go live during WrestleMania. So keep an eye out on the TikTok for that.
Yeah, let us know if that's something you're interested in.
We could go live, and I'm just thinking out loud. We could dress the part.
Oh, we could
dress up like wrestlers. I think I have an old Macho Man costume somewhere that I went for his Halloween one year. But I don't know. We'll discuss that. We may not have enough time to throw that together because we're only a day or two away from it.
Yeah, we may not have enough time. But if that's something you're interested
in, we may go live during Mania, so be looking for that on TikTok. And if we do, sit in, react with us, have a couple of beverages with us. We may have some whiskey that we'll talk about. Maybe cigars. Maybe we'll go cigars, whiskey, and Mania.
Cigars.
Yeah, maybe that's what we do Sunday.
We can put the TV outside.
Yep. Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Come on, join us. We're going to sit around the campfire. We'll enjoy some WrestleMania cigars and whiskey. I like the way you talk.
Hell yeah. Anything else? We're done? All right, guys.
I think we're done.
Thank you for joining us today. And like the great philosopher Barry Bird once told me, you're never out of it if you bet the over. Love you guys.